The silver ship moved through space like a silent ghost. Its name was Silent Observer, and it belonged to the Galactic Survey. Inside the ship, blue lights blinked on control panels. The air hummed with the sound of machines working. Commander. Yuki sat in her chair on the bridge. Her green skin had small scales that caught the light. Her 4 eyes looked at the big screen in front of her. She was not happy. "Another empty system," she said with a tired voice. "Scan complete. No signs of intelligent life." The survey had been going on for 6 months. They had visited 47 planets. All of them were empty, or had only simple animals. The Galactic Council wanted them to find new worlds with smart creatures. So far, they had found nothing useful. Dr. Hannah looked up from her station. She was smaller than the commander, with bright yellow skin and 2 large eyes. She studied animal behavior. That was her job. "Wait," Hannah said. Her voice was excited. "I'm getting something strange." Commander Yuki turned her chair around. "What is it?" "The 4th planet in this system. It has life signs." Hannah's fingers moved fast over her controls. 2 different creatures. Both are big enough to be intelligent. Dr. June walked over to look at Hannah's screen. He was tall and thin, with gray skin. He was the team's life form expert. His job was to study new creatures they found. "Show me," June said. Hannah pressed some buttons. The main screen changed. It showed a green and blue planet with white clouds. It looked peaceful from space. "The planet has good air to breathe," Hannah explained. "Lots of water. Perfect temperature for most life forms we know. Where are the creatures?" Commander Yuki asked. Hannah made the image bigger. The screen now showed a small area on the planet's surface. There were trees and grass. In the middle was a simple building made of wood and stone. There, Hannah pointed at the screen. 2 heat signatures. Both inside that structure, red dots appeared on the screen. One dot was very big. The other was much smaller. Officer Day came over to join them. He was young and had purple skin with white spots. His job was to handle communications and sensor data. "The big one is really big," Day said, looking at his readings. "Maybe 12 feet tall, very heavy. The small one is about 6 feet tall, much lighter." Dr. June studied the numbers on his screen. His face looked worried. "Commander," he said. Slowly, "I think the big creature might be dangerous." "Why do you think that?" Yuki asked. June pressed some buttons. New information appeared on the screen. "Look at this body scan," he said. "The large creature has thick armor plating all over its body, sharp claws on all 4 limbs. What looks like poisoned spines along its back. And see this? Massive jaw muscles. This thing is built to kill." Hannah leaned forward to get a better look. "What about the small one?" "The small creature is very different," June continued. "Thin skin. No natural weapons that I can see. No armor, no claws. No poison. It looks ... soft." Commander Yuki stood. Up from her chair, she walked closer to the screen. "So we have a predator, and what might be its prey," she said. "It looks that way," June agreed. Day checked his instruments again. "Commander, both creatures have been in that building for several hours. The big one keeps moving around. The small one stays mostly still." Hannah touched her chin with one finger. She always did this when she was thinking hard. "This is interesting," she said. "In all my studies, I have never seen a situation like this. Usually, predators hunt their prey quickly. They don't stay close to them for hours." "Maybe it's waiting for the right moment," June suggested. Commander Yuki made a decision. "We need to watch this closely. It could be important for our research." Day set up full monitoring. "I want to know everything these creatures do." "Yes, Commander," Day said. He went back to his station and started working. Hannah, I want you to study their behavior patterns, Yuki continued. June analyzed their biology, tried to figure out what species they might be. What if the small creature is in danger? Hannah asked, should we help it? Commander Yuki thought for a moment. Our job is to observe, not interfere. The Galactic Council made that very clear. We watch and report. We do not get involved. But Hannah still looked worried. The small creature seemed so helpless. Dr. June was already working at his computer. I'm running the big creature's profile through our database, he said. Let me see if we have seen anything like it before. The ship's computer made soft beeping sounds as it searched through millions of records. Commander, Day called out. The big creature is moving. It's heading toward the entrance of the building. Everyone turned to look at the main screen. The red dot that represented the large creature was indeed moving. Is it leaving? Yuki asked. No. Day said, watching his instruments carefully. It stopped right at the entrance. It's just ... standing there. Dr. June's computer made a loud ding sound. I found something, he said. His voice sounded scared. Commander, you need to see this. Yuki walked over to June's station. On his screen was a picture of a creature that looked similar to what they were watching. This is a Corvani. Deathstalker, June explained. One of the most dangerous predators known in the galaxy. They usually live alone. They hunt by waiting patiently for prey, then attacking with incredible speed. Hannah gasped. Deathstalker. Are you sure? The body shape matches perfectly. June said the armor, the claws, the poison spines. Everything fits. Commander Yuki felt a chill run down her spine. Deathstalkers were legendary for their killing ability. They were feared across the galaxy. If that really is a Deathstalker, she said quietly, then the small creature doesn't stand a chance. What should we do? Hannah asked. We watch, Yuki said firmly, and we learn. This might be the only chance anyone has ever had to study a Deathstalker hunting in its natural environment. Day looked up from his controls. The creature is moving again. It's pacing back and forth in front of the entrance. On the screen, they could see the large red dot moving in a pattern. Back and forth, back and forth. Classic hunting behavior, June said. It's deciding when to strike. But Hannah was not so sure. She had studied animal behavior for many years. Something about this situation felt different. Look at the movement pattern, she said. It's not smooth like a hunter. It's jerky. Nervous. Nervous? Commander Yuki asked. Deathstalkers don't get nervous. Maybe this one is different, Hannah suggested. As they watched, the small red dot inside the building began to move. It was heading toward the entrance where the Deathstalker waited. No, Hannah whispered. Don't go outside, but the small creature kept moving toward the door. Everyone on the bridge held their breath. They were about to witness something that might change their understanding of life in the galaxy. The hunt was about to begin. Officer Day stared at his screen. The numbers were changing fast. His purple skin turned darker when he was confused, and right now it was very dark. Commander, he called out, something is wrong with my readings. Commander Yuki walked over to his station. What do you mean wrong? The big creature's body signals, Day explained. They don't match what we expected. Dr. June looked up from his own work. Show us. Day pressed some buttons. A new display appeared on the main screen. It showed wavy lines that moved up and down like hills and valleys. These are the Deathstalker's life signs, Day said. Heart rate, brain activity, stress hormones, and Commander Yuki asked. They're all wrong for a hunting predator, Day continued. When Deathstalkers hunt, their heart rate should be slow and steady. Their brain should show focused patterns. But look at this. He pointed to the wavy lines. They were jumping up and down in wild patterns. The heart rate is too fast, Day explained. The brain patterns are scattered, and the stress hormones are very high. Dr. Hannah came over to look. Doesn't look like hunting behavior. No, Day agreed. It looks like ... distress. Commander Yuki frowned. Distress. Deathstalkers don't get distressed. They're perfect killing machines. Maybe this. One is sick, June suggested. On the main screen, they could still see the two red dots. The big one was still pacing back and forth outside the building. The small one was getting closer to the entrance. Wait, Hannah said suddenly. Listen to this. She pressed a button on her control panel. Sounds began to come from the speakers. Around the bridge, there were strange sounds, low, rumbling noises that went up and down. What is that, Commander? Yuki asked. Audio from the planet, Hannah replied. The big creature is making these sounds. Dr. June listened carefully. As an expert in alien life forms, he knew many different creature sounds. Those aren't hunting. Calls, he said slowly. They sound more like communication calls, like it's trying to talk to something. Talk, Yuki asked. Deathstalkers don't talk, they just kill. But the sounds continued. Long, low calls that seemed almost sad. Commander Day said urgently, the small creature is at the entrance now. Everyone turned to look at the main screen. The small red dot had reached the edge of the building. It was right where the Deathstalker was waiting. This is it, June whispered. The attack is about to happen. They all watched the screen in silence. The two dots were now very close to each other. The Deathstalker had stopped pacing. Everything was still. Then something impossible happened. The small creature moved toward the Deathstalker. Not away from it, toward it. What is it doing? Hannah gasped. The audio from the planet changed. The Deathstalker's calls became softer, almost gentle. Then they heard a new sound. It was different from the Deathstalker's calls. Higher pitched, more musical. That's coming from the small creature, Day said, checking his instruments. It's talking back, Hannah said in amazement. Commander Yuki couldn't believe what she was seeing. This is impossible. Prey animals don't communicate with their predators. But the sounds continued. The Deathstalker made a low rumble. The small creature answered with a series of shorter sounds. It was like they were having a conversation. Commander June said quietly, I don't think this is a hunting situation. Anymore? Then what is it? Yuki asked. Before anyone could answer, something even more shocking happened. The small creature began to move around the Deathstalker. On the thermal sensors, they could see it was touching the larger creature. Is it examining the Deathstalker? Kana asked. Day checked his readings again. Kana Stalker's stress levels are going down. Its heart rate is becoming more normal. That doesn't make sense, June said. Physical contact should make both creatures more stressed, not less. They watched as the small creature continued to move around the Deathstalker. It seemed to be looking at different parts of the larger creature's body. Wait, Hannah said suddenly. Look at the Deathstalker's left front limb. She used a control to zoom in on that area of the thermal image. There was a dark spot that was cooler than the rest of the creature's body. That's not normal body temperature, June observed. Something is wrong with that limb. You mean it's injured? Commander Yuki asked. It looks that way, June replied. As they watched, the small creature seemed to focus on that exact spot. It stayed near the Deathstalker's injured limb for a long time. The small creature found the injury, Hannah said in wonder. But how did it know where to look? The sounds from the planet changed again. The Deathstalker made a series of short, quiet calls. The small creature answered in what sounded like a soothing voice. Commander, Day said. his voice full of shock. Both creatures are moving. They're going back into the building. Together. On the screen, both red dots were indeed moving. But instead of the Deathstalker dragging away its prey, they were walking side by side. The small creature was actually leading the way. "This is unprecedented," June said. "In all recorded history, no one has ever seen a Deathstalker behave this way." Inside the building, they could see both creatures settle down, but they didn't. Go to opposite sides of the structure. They stayed close together. "The thermal readings show they're in physical contact," Day reported. "The small creature is I think it's treating the Deathstalker's wound." Commander Yuki sat down heavily in her chair. Everything she knew about predator and prey relationships was being turned upside down. "Hannah," she said slowly, "in all your studies of animal behavior, have you ever seen anything like this?" Hannah shook her head. "Never. This goes against every rule we know about how different species interact." "What if," Dr. June said thoughtfully, "the small creature isn't prey at all?" "What do you mean?" Yuki asked. "What if it's something else entirely? Something we've never encountered before?" They watched the thermal images for another hour. The small creature continued to tend to the Deathstalker's injury. It brought water, seemed to apply some kind of treatment to the wound. It even brought what looked like food. "The Deathstalker is letting it do all this," Hannah observed. "A wild predator would never allow another creature to touch it like that." "Les," Day said quietly, "it trusts the small creature." "Trust?" Commander Yuki asked. "Deathstalkers don't trust anything." But the evidence was right in front of them. The most feared predator in the galaxy was lying calmly while a much smaller creature took care of its injuries. "Commander," June said, "I think we need to revise our classification of both creatures. What do you suggest?" "The small creature might not be prey," June explained. "And the Deathstalker might not be hunting." "Then what are they doing, Yuki?" asked Hannah, had been studying the behavior patterns on her screen. She looked up with an expression of wonder on her face. "I think," she said slowly, "they might be friends." The word hung in the air. Friends, it was a concept that made sense for creatures of the same species. But between a Deathstalker and an unknown creature, it seemed impossible. Yet the evidence was clear. The two creatures were taking care of each other. "We need to keep watching," Commander Yuki decided. "This could change everything we know about interspecies relationships." As night fell on the planet below, the two creatures settled down to rest. The thermal sensors showed them lying close together, the small creature curled up against the Deathstalker's warm body. "The Deathstalker is keeping the small creature," Warm Day observed. "And the small creature isn't afraid," Hannah added. Commander Yuki stared at the screen. Tomorrow would bring new observations. And maybe, just maybe, new understanding of what was possible in the vast galaxy. The hunt they had expected to witness had become something entirely different. Something beautiful. Something that would change everything they thought they knew about life among the stars. 3 days had passed since the crew of the Silent Observer first discovered the two strange creatures. Commander Yuki had barely slept. Every few hours, she came to the bridge to check on their progress. What they were seeing made no sense. "Daily report," she said to Dr. Hannah as she entered the bridge. Hannah looked tired but excited. She had been watching the creatures non-stop, taking notes on everything they did. "The pattern continues, Commander," Hannah said. "The small creature, we should give it a name, takes care of the Deathstalker every day." "What kind of name?" Commander Yuki asked. Officer Day looked up from his station. "I've been listening to their communications. The Deathstalker makes sounds that might be a name. It sounds like Tommen when I clean up the audio." Tommen, Yuki repeated. "And what does Taman call the Deathstalker?" "Something that sounds like Koru Day," replied Dr. June, walked over to join them. Those sound like real names, not just animal sounds. That would mean both creatures are intelligent, Hana said. Commander Yuki nodded slowly. Show me what? Happened yesterday. Hana pressed some buttons. The main screen showed recorded footage from the day before. They could see the thermal images of both creatures moving around inside their building. Watch this, Hana said. Taemin brings water to Koru every few hours. He also brings food. But look closely at the food. The image showed the small creature carrying something to the larger one. It's not just any food, Hana continued. Taemin goes outside and picks specific plants. Our scans show these plants have healing properties. Healing properties? June asked. Kenna confirmed. The plants contain natural medicines that help wounds heal faster. Somehow, Taemin knows exactly which plants to choose. Dr. June studied the data on his screen. That level of knowledge suggests advanced intelligence, maybe even scientific understanding. There's more, Hana said. She fast-forwarded the recording. Look at this. The screen now showed both creatures. Outside the building, Taemin was doing something with his hands near a small fire. He's cooking, Commander Yuki observed. Not just cooking, Hana said excitedly. He's preparing medicine. Watch. They could see Taemin mixing different plants together over the fire. He stirred them carefully, testing the mixture by smelling it. He's making a paste, June said. Probably to put on Koru's wound. And look at Koru's behavior, Hana added. The Deathstalker was lying quietly nearby. Its massive head was turned toward Taemin, watching everything he did. It's not just waiting, Commander Yuki realized. It's interested in what Taemin is doing. Exactly, Hana agreed. Koru trusts Taemin completely. When Taemin applies the medicine, Koru stays perfectly still. No resistance. No fear. Lieutenant? Mira entered the bridge. She was the team's cultural expert. Her job was to study how different species lived and worked together. Commander, she said. I've been thinking about what we're seeing here. Go on, Yuki said. In all our records of known species, we have examples of cooperation, Mira explained. Some creatures work together to hunt. Others share territory. But this is different. How? So, June asked. This isn't cooperation for survival, Mira continued. This is ... care. Affection. Taemin takes care of Koru even when there's no benefit to himself. What do you mean? Commander Yuki asked. Myra pressed some controls and knew. Data appeared on the screen. I've been analyzing the energy costs of Taemin's activities, she said. Every day, he spends hours gathering plants, preparing medicine, and tending to Koru's wound. This uses a lot of his energy, and, Yuki prompted, he gets nothing back. Mira said simply, Koru doesn't hunt for him, doesn't protect him from other dangers, doesn't share resources. Taemin does all this work just because he ... cares. The bridge became quiet. Everyone was thinking about what this meant. How nature works, June said finally. Creatures don't waste energy on other species unless they get something back. Unless, Hana said slowly, they're not just different species. What if they're family? Family. Commander Yuki asked. Think about it, Hana continued. When creatures of the same species take care of each other, we call it family behavior. Parents care for children. Pack members care for each other. What if Taemin and Koru see each other as family, even though they're different species? Before anyone could respond, Day called out urgently, Commander, something's happening on the planet. Everyone turned to look at the main screen. The images showed Taemin lying still inside the building. His body temperature was higher than normal. He's sick, Dr. June said, reading the medical scanners. Look at Koru, Hana said. The Deathstalker was moving around Taemin in agitated patterns. Its stress levels were spiking on the monitors. Koru knows something is wrong, Day observed. They watched as the Deathstalker gently nudged Taman with its massive head. When Taman didn't respond normally, Koru's agitation increased. "This is remarkable," Mira said. "Koru is showing genuine concern. What's it doing now?" Commander Yuki asked. Koru had left the building. The thermal sensors showed it moving quickly. "Outside, it's going toward the water source," Day reported. A few minutes later, Koru returned. Somehow, it was carrying water. "How is it carrying water?" June asked. Day enhanced the image. "It looks like Koru is using some kind of large leaf as a container." They watched as Koru carefully brought the water to Taman. The Deathstalker's movements were incredibly gentle as it helped the sick human drink. "Koru is taking care of Taman," Hannah said in amazement. "Just like Taman took care of Koru." But Koru wasn't finished. The Deathstalker left again, and this time it was gone for much longer. "Where did it go?" Commander Yuki asked. "I'm tracking its movement," Day said. "It's heading toward... ... Wait, it's going to the same area where Taman usually gathers plants." Koru is getting medicine. June realized an hour later Koru returned with several plants in its mouth. They were the same healing plants that Taman had been using to treat Koru's wound. "This is impossible," Dr. June said. "The Deathstalkers are carnivores. They don't know about healing plants." "This one does," Hannah said softly. Koru learned by watching Taman. They observed as Koru carefully placed the plants near Taman. The Deathstalker couldn't prepare the medicine like Taman could, but it had brought the right ingredients. "The stress levels are interesting," Day reported. "Look at this." He put both creatures' stress readings on the screen side by side. When Taman was healthy and Koru was injured, Taman's stress was low, Day explained. He stayed calm while helping Koru, but Kuru's stress was high from pain and worry. "And now?" Commander Yuki asked. "Now it's reversed," Day continued. "Taman's stress is high from being sick. But watch what happens when Koru comes close." On the screen, they could see Koru lying down next to the sick Taman. The Deathstalker's large body was providing warmth. "Both stress levels are dropping," Day said, "just from being close to each other." "Their presence calms each other," Hannah observed. "That's not just cooperation. That's emotional bonding." Lieutenant Myra was taking notes rapidly. "Commander," she said, "I think we need to create a new classification for this relationship." "What do you suggest?" Yuki asked. "Interspecies family bonding," Mira replied. "These two creatures have formed a family unit that crosses species boundaries." Dr. June shook his head. "The Galactic Council will never believe this." "They'll have to, Commander," Yuki said firmly. "We have 3 days of solid evidence." As they watched, Taman began to recover from his illness. Koru stayed close the entire time, only leaving to get water or food. When Taman was finally able to sit up, the first thing he did was reach out to touch Koru's armored head. The sound that came from both creatures was unmistakable. It was contentment, happiness, relief. "They love each other," Hannah said simply. Commander Yuki stared at the screen. In all her years of space exploration, she had never seen anything like this. "Keep recording everything," she ordered. "The galaxy needs to know that this is possible." 2 different species from different worlds had found each other and created something beautiful. Something that challenged every rule about how the universe worked. Something that gave hope for peace among all the different creatures in the stars. On the 7th day of watching, Officer Day noticed something that made his blood run cold. "Commander," he called out urgently, "we have a problem." Commander Yuki was in her ready room, writing her daily report. She rushed to the bridge when she heard the alarm in Day's voice. "What is it?" she asked. "Multiple heat signatures approaching the building," Day replied. His fingers moved quickly over his controls. big ones. The main screen showed the thermal image of the planet's surface. Around Taman and Koru's peaceful home, red dots were moving through the forest. Lots of them. How many? Dr. June asked as he joined them. I count 12, Day said. Maybe more. They're surrounding the building. Dr. Hannah studied the size and shape of the approaching creatures. Those are Deathstalkers, she said quietly. Oh, whole pack of them. Commander Yuki felt her stomach drop. Are you certain? The body signatures match perfectly, Hannah confirmed. 12-foot height, armored bodies, same heat patterns as Koru. Lieutenant Mira came running onto the bridge. What's the emergency? Wild Deathstalkers, Commander Yuki explained. They're surrounding Taman and Koru. Everyone on the bridge understood what this meant. Deathstalkers were territorial creatures. They didn't like other Deathstalkers in their hunting areas. And they definitely didn't like strange creatures they had never seen before. This is bad, Dr. June said. Very bad. On the screen, they could see the pack of Deathstalkers getting closer. They moved carefully through the trees, staying hidden. These were experienced hunters. Inside the building, do Taman and Koru know what's coming? Commander Yuki asked. Day checked his sensors. Koru's stress levels just spiked. It knows. What? About Taman, he seems calm, Day replied. His readings are normal. Dr. Hannah watched the thermal images carefully. Inside the building, Koru was moving around in agitated patterns, but Taman was sitting still. Koru is trying to warn Taman, she said. Look at its behavior. They could see Koru going back and forth between Taman and the entrance of the building. The Deathstalker was making the low rumbling sounds they had heard before. Taman isn't running, Mira observed. Eh? Why isn't he afraid? Maybe he doesn't understand the danger, June suggested. But as they watched, Taman stood up and walked to the entrance. He looked outside, then came back to Koru. He placed his small hand on Koru's armored head. He knows, Hannah said softly. He knows exactly what's out there. Then why isn't he hiding? Commander Yuki asked. The answer came quickly. Taman and Koru moved to the entrance together. They stepped outside. No, Dr. June whispered. They're making themselves targets. The pack of wild Deathstalkers had completely surrounded the building now. They stepped out from behind the trees, showing themselves 12 massive predators, all focused on Koru and the strange small creature beside it. This is it, Commander, Yuki said grimly. This is where we see what Deathstalkers really do to intruders. The lead Deathstalker was bigger than the others, older, more scarred. It walked slowly toward Koru, making deep, threatening sounds. The pack leader, Hannah, identified. It's challenging Koru. But something unexpected happened. Instead of responding with aggression, Koru lowered its head. Its body posture changed. From alert to submissive, Koru is backing down, Day reported, reading the body language signals. Smart move, June said. 1 against 12 is impossible odds. The pack leader came closer. It was now only a few feet away from Koru and Taman. Its massive claws scraped against the ground. Its poisoned spines were raised in threat display. Why doesn't Taman run? Mira asked desperately. Instead of running, Taman did something that shocked everyone watching. He stepped forward. He moved to stand between Koru and the pack leader. He's protecting Koru, Hannah gasped. The small, soft creature was facing down the most dangerous predator on the planet. Taman had no claws, no armor, no poison. He had nothing but courage. The pack leader stopped. It tilted its massive head, studying this strange creature that dared to stand in its way. The pack leader is confused, Day observed. It's stress. Readings are all over the place. Other Deathstalkers from the pack began to circle around them. Koru was completely surrounded now, with Taman still standing protectively in front. "This is where it ends," Dr. June said sadly. "There's no way they can fight off 12 Deathstalkers." But Taman wasn't preparing to fight. Instead, he was making the soft musical sounds they had heard before. He was talking to the pack leader. "What is he saying?" Commander Yuki asked. "I don't know," Day replied, "but listen to how he sounds." The tone of Taman's voice was calm, gentle, not threatening at all. He was speaking to the pack leader like he would speak to a friend. The pack leader made a rumbling response. It sounded like a question. "They're communicating," Hannah said in amazement. Tay-Min continued to speak in his soft voice. He gestured toward Koru. Then he gestured toward himself. He seemed to be explaining something. "I think," Myra said slowly, "Taman is telling the pack leader that Koru is his family." The conversation continued for several minutes. Sometimes the pack leader would look at Koru. Sometimes it would look at the other Deathstalkers. Taman never stopped talking in his calm, friendly voice. Finally, the pack leader made a decision. It approached Koru directly. "This is it," June whispered. But instead of attacking, the pack leader touched its head against Koru's head. It was a gentle touch, almost affectionate. "Pack bonding behavior," Hannah said in wonder. "The pack leader is accepting Koru back into the group." The other Deathstalkers relaxed their threatening postures. One by one, they approached Koru and made the same head-touching gesture. "They're welcoming Koru home," Myra observed. But what about Taman? The human was still standing among 12 massive predators. He was the outsider here. The pack leader turned its attention to Taman. It lowered its enormous head until it was level with the human's face. "This is the moment of truth," Commander Yuki said. Tay-Min reached out slowly and placed his hand on the pack leader's snout. The Deathstalker closed its eyes and made a sound that could only be described as a purr. "Acceptance," Hannah breathed. "The pack leader is accepting Taman too." One by one, the other Deathstalkers approached Taman. Each one allowed him to touch their heads. Each one made the same contented purring sound. "This is impossible," Dr. June said. "Deathstalkers don't adopt other species into their packs. These ones do," Mira replied as the sun began to set on the planet. Something beautiful happened. The entire pack settled down around Taman and Koru's home. They formed a protective circle with Taman and Koru in the center. "They're staying," Day reported. "All of them. For how long?" Commander Yuki asked. "It looks like permanently," Hannah said. "This is now a mixed-species pack." As night fell, the thermal sensors showed all the creatures settling down to sleep. But the most remarkable image was in the center of the group. Tay-Min was lying down, surrounded by the warm bodies of his new family. Koru was curled around him protectively. But here was the most incredible part. Koru's back was facing the forest. The Deathstalker had positioned itself so that any danger would have to go through it first to reach Taman. "Look at that," Hannah said softly. "Koru is sleeping with its back to the door." "What does that mean?" Commander Yuki asked. "It means complete trust," Mira explained. "Predators never sleep with their backs exposed unless they feel completely safe. Koru trusts the pack to protect them both." Dr. June was studying his readings carefully. "The stress levels of all creatures are at the lowest we've ever recorded. They're not just safe, they're happy." Commander Yuki stared at the peaceful scene on the screen. A human sleeping peacefully in the middle of a pack of Deathstalkers. The most feared predators in the galaxy, acting like gentle guardians. "The galaxy is not going to believe this," she said. "They'll have to," Hannah replied. "We have it all recorded." As the night deepened, the pack settled into sleep. 12 Deathstalkers and 1 human, all dreaming peacefully together under the alien. Stars tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight, they were family, and family meant that no one slept alone in the dark. Commander Yuki stood in the ship's meeting room, looking at the faces of her crew. They had been watching Taman and his Deathstalker family for 2 weeks now. Tomorrow, they would have to leave and report their findings to the Galactic Council. "We need to decide what to tell them," she said. Dr. Hannah had prepared a thick file of observations. She placed it on the table in front of everyone. "The facts are clear," she began. "Taman has formed a permanent bond with 13 Deathstalkers. They live together as a family unit. They protect each other. They care for each other." "The Council will think we're lying," Officer Day said. "No one will believe that Deathstalkers can be friendly." Dr. June nodded in agreement. "According to everything we know about these creatures, what we've seen should be impossible." Lieutenant Mira had been quiet during the discussion. Now she spoke up. "Maybe that's the problem," she said. "Maybe everything we thought we knew was wrong." "What do you mean?" Commander Yuki asked. "We've been studying Deathstalkers for hundreds of years," Mira explained. "But we've only seen them in the wild, alone. We never saw them with their families. We never saw them being cared for when they were hurt." She stood up and walked to the viewing screen. The planet was visible below them, peaceful and green. "What if Deathstalkers aren't naturally aggressive?" she continued. "What if they only attack because they're scared or hungry or protecting themselves?" Dr. Hannah looked thoughtful. "That would explain a lot. Most Deathstalker attacks happen when people surprise them or corner them. But what about Taman?" Day asked. "What makes him special? Why can he bond with them when no one else can?" "Commander?" Yuki had been thinking about this question for days. She had studied all the reports, watched all the recordings. Now she thought she had an answer. "I think," she said slowly, "it's because Taman sees them differently." "How so?" Dr. June asked. "Watch." The recordings again, Yuki explained. When Taman first met Koru, he didn't see a dangerous predator. He saw a hurt creature that needed help. She pressed a button, and the screen showed the thermal recording from their first day of observation. "Look at Taman's behavior," she continued. "He never acted afraid. He never treated Koru like an enemy. From the very beginning, he treated Koru like a friend who needed help." Hannah was nodding as she understood. "And because Taman wasn't afraid, Koru didn't feel threatened." "Exactly," Yuki said. "Fear creates fear. But kindness creates trust. This could change everything," Mira said quietly. "If humans can bond with Deathstalkers, what else might be possible?" Dr. June was already thinking about the implications. "There are dozens of species we consider too dangerous to approach. Razor-winged birds, crystal spiders, void hunters. What if they're not dangerous at all?" Hannah added. "What if they just need someone to show them kindness first?" Day looked worried. "But this could also be very dangerous information. What if the wrong people try to copy Taman and get hurt?" Commander Yuki understood his concern. The ability to bond with dangerous creatures could be misused. But it could also bring peace to the galaxy. "That's why our report is so important," she said. "We need to explain not just what Taman did, but how he did it." Over the next several hours, they worked together to write their final report. They included detailed observations of Taman's behavior. They documented how he approached Koru with patience and gentleness. They recorded how he never used force or fear. "The key seems to be genuine caring," Hannah wrote in her section. "Taman helps Koru, not because he wants something back, but because he truly cares about Koru's well-being." "And trust," Myra added to her own notes. "Taman shows complete trust, even in dangerous situations. This trust is returned by the Deathstalkers." As they worked, they continued to monitor the planet. Below, Taman and his pack were building something new. They were expanding the original shelter into a larger structure. They're working together, Day observed. The Deathstalkers are helping with construction. Look at that, Dr. June pointed to. The screen Taman is teaching them how to use tools. They watched as Taman showed one of the younger Deathstalkers how to carry building materials. The creature was clearly trying to copy what Taman was doing. They're learning from each other, Hannah said. This isn't just emotional bonding anymore. It's cultural exchange. Commander Yuki realized they were witnessing something historic. This wasn't just one human making friends with some dangerous creatures. This was the beginning of a new kind of civilization. We need to recommend that the council make contact, she decided. Contact. Day asked. With Taman? Yes, Yuki replied. But very carefully. We need to learn from him. He has figured out something that could bring peace to the entire galaxy. Dr. June looked nervous. What if contact ruins what they have? What if our presence scares the Deathstalkers? Then we follow Taman's example, Mira suggested. We approach with patience and kindness. We show that we mean no harm. As they finished their report, a new thought occurred to Commander Yuki. She had been thinking of Taman as special, different from other humans. But what if he wasn't? What if, she said to her crew, all humans can do this? The room became quiet as everyone considered this possibility. You mean pack bonding might be a natural human ability? Hannah asked. Think about it, Yuki continued. Humans live in family groups. They care for creatures that aren't their own species. They keep pets. They form emotional bonds easily. But other species do that too, Dr. June pointed out. Not like. This, Mira disagreed. I've studied hundreds of species. Most care only for their own kind. Some work with others for mutual benefit. But humans seem to genuinely love other creatures, even ones that can't help them back. Day was looking at his communication records. I've been analyzing Taman's speech patterns when he talks to the Deathstalkers. What did you find, Commander? Yuki asked. He talks to them the same way parents talk to children, Day explained. Patient, loving, protective, like their family. Because to him, they are family. Hannah realized Commander Yuki stood up and walked to the viewing port. Below them, the planet turned slowly in space. Somewhere down there, a human was sleeping peacefully, surrounded by creatures that the rest of the galaxy feared. Our recommendation to the Council, she said finally, will be immediate diplomatic contact with the human species. What classification should we give them? Dr. June asked. Commander Yuki thought for a moment. Standard classifications included things like dangerous, useful, harmless, or avoid contact. New classification, she decided. Pack bonders. What does that mean? Day asked. It means, Commander Yuki explained, that humans don't conquer through force. They don't dominate through fear. They adopt you into their family. And once your family, they'll protect you with everything they have. She looked around at her crew, and they'll call every creature they've ever befriended to help protect you too. The final line of their report would become famous throughout the galaxy. Threat assessment, 0 to allies, absolute to enemies. Special notation, humans do not make servants or slaves. They make family. Handle with care, approach with respect, and be prepared to be loved unconditionally. As the silent observer prepared to leave the system, they took one last look at the planet below. Taman was outside, playing some kind of game with the younger Deathstalkers. They were running around, making happy sounds, having fun. Look at that, Hannah said softly. They're not just surviving together. They're living. They're happy. Commander Yuki smiled. That's what family does. The ship turned away from the planet and jumped to hyperspace. Behind them, they left a world where the impossible had become normal, where fear had been replaced by love, where the most dangerous predators in the galaxy had learned to be gentle, and in the center of it all was one human who had shown them that there was a better way to live. The galaxy would never be the same.